The nation is gearing up for a powerful display of resistance as millions of Americans across all 50 states prepare to march in the No Kings protests against the Trump administration this Saturday. But what's the driving force behind this massive mobilization? A rising concern, sliding into authoritarianism. The core message is a bold one. The country is veering towards authoritarian rule, and the people refuse to accept a king-like figure in the White House. This movement is a direct response to what many perceive as Trump's increasingly authoritarian tendencies and his administration's controversial actions. A historic turnout expected, building on the momentum of the June protests, which saw millions take to the streets in one of the largest days of demonstration in U.S. history. The No Kings Coalition is back with a second iteration. Organizers anticipate an even greater turnout, with events planned in over 2,700 locations, from small towns to major cities. Trump's crackdown and the pushback. Donald Trump has been accused of attempting to exert control over U.S. cities by sending in federal troops and bolstering immigration agents. He's also been criticized for targeting left-leaning organizations, claiming they support terrorism and political violence. However, cities and residents are pushing back, legally and through peaceful protests, against what they see as the militarization of their communities. Controversy and counterpoints. Trump's allies have labeled the protests as anti-American, associating them with Antifa, the decentralized anti-fascist movement. They also argue that these protests are prolonging the government shutdown. In response, Texas Governor Greg Abbott plans to deploy the National Guard in Austin ahead of the protests. A peaceful resistance. Despite the potential for controversy, the No Kings Coalition emphasizes its commitment to nonviolent resistance. Prominent politicians, including Democratic senators and Independent Senator Bernie Sanders, are expected to join the protests. Organizers have ensured that tens of thousands of participants are trained in safety and de-escalation techniques, promoting a peaceful approach. A message of defiance and unity. The president wants us to be scared, but we refuse to be bullied into fear and silence, said Lisa Gilbert, co-president of Public Citizen, one of the protest organizers. She encourages attendees to stand tall, speak their minds, and not be intimidated. This message of defiance and unity is at the heart of the protests. A nationwide movement. The No Kings protests have gained widespread support, with over 200 organizations partnering for the October 18th events. Key cities like Washington, D.C., San Francisco, New York City, and more will serve as anchors, drawing massive crowds. The protests aim to send a clear message. The U.S. has no kings, and Trump's authoritarian tendencies will not go unchallenged. Controversial interpretations and the role of taxpayers, Trump's actions, such as using taxpayer money to send federal forces into cities, and his alleged desire for a third term, have sparked debate. Some argue that his administration has overstepped its bounds, defying courts and cutting services while deporting people without due process. But here's where it gets controversial. Are these protests a necessary check on power, or do they hinder the government's ability to function? Is Trump's leadership a threat to democracy, or is it a necessary strong hand in turbulent times? The No Kings protests are not just a display of dissent, but a reflection of a nation's struggle with the balance between authority and liberty. As Americans prepare to march, the world watches, eager to see how this chapter in U.S. political history unfolds.